I'm just going to go ahead.
Okay, let's roll.
In 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Sean Turner here in sunny Atlanta at the Hunter Hotel Conference. Sitting here with Dan Hansen of Summit Hotel Properties. Dan, thanks very much for taking a few minutes today.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, this is Jason Freed, the news editor of Hotel News Now. We're here at the Marriott Marquis in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm with Mike Muir.
So this is David Rodell. He's a partner with Rodell Companies. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me. With me is Mitt Shaw, the CEO of Noble Investment Group. Mitt, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Jeff. Always good to see you.
With Jeff Bellotti, President and CEO of Wyndham Hotel Group. Jeff, thanks for taking the time to chat.
Hi, Jeff Higley with Hotel News Now. I'm here at the Hunter Hotel Investment Conference in Atlanta. I'm with Fred Cerrone, the President and CEO of Hotel Equities. Fred, thanks for joining us today.
Sure, absolutely. My pleasure.
So growth has been the name of the game for Hotel Equities. You added 13 properties, I think, in the fourth quarter of last year.
Well, our sweet spot is select service. However, we do full service as well, and we're actually we want to get into the full service arena. We have a couple of full service hotels. It's a great time of it's a great part of the cycle for us, and we're just trying to take advantage of that.
Well, I think since it's kind of a cyclical business, anytime things get really good like they are right now, and the RevPAR increases, supply has been historically low, what happens next? People start developing. When people start developing, more supply leads to maybe a lag in the RevPAR. But again, that's market by market. Mm-hmm. So I think you look at the macro, then you look at the micro, what's happening in the market, say we are in. And right now, things are very strong.
Wow. This is pretty cool.
It's the real deal, right?
Yeah.
2016 will be a very interesting year. We've got a lot of tax regulations that are forthcoming. We've got a lot of entitlement spending. We've got also kind of in the offing, questions about interest rate risk, relative to inflation. But we've also got the flip side of it, which is, is there greater rate opportunity? There's lots of external threats into our business, relative to the cost of revenue and disruptors in our space, relative to the revenue model. And then there's this growing costs of how we take care of our people in our hotels relative to insurance and the like.
We did perfect timing, right? As soon as everybody...
This is right, the break time, right?
Yeah, I know.
One initiative IHG has been pushing on us for our Indigo Chelsea Hotel is a virtual concierge type of screen that people can go to, as opposed to an actual person, but they can go to it. It's a touch screen. We've seen very positive responses from a lot of guests coming in. A lot of guests are, it's New York City, it's Chelsea, so a lot of foreign travelers, and so a lot of them don't necessarily speak the language. And this virtual touchscreen platform allows them to understand what restaurants, what bars, what locations they go to within the area. So it's been a pretty big help.
And do you find now that you're a couple years into that, or Best Western's a couple years into that, that people are starting to understand the difference between those brands? When you're out here at Hunter talking to the owners, do they sort of get it, what it is now?
Yeah, I think they do. I think we're still young with it, but the first step is to have the developers and the owners make sure there's clear distinction. Of course, the customers will see it, feel it, touch it as they're out there experiencing it.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
But the opportunity is very difficult. The market that exists today has a lot of investors that are looking for yield, and has a lot of investors that are also looking for opportunities to buy and scale. But it also sets up very nicely, I believe, for what we do. And what we've historically been the most successful at is finding assets that are in locations that are really driven by more consistent demand generators, be it universities, be it medical research centers, be it in state capitals, that over time have a much lower beta than other markets. And oftentimes these markets reside in the top 50 MSAs. Sometimes in the case of like a Charleston, South Carolina, or Savannah, they reside just outside of the top 50.
In the everyday climate of hotels, you have increasing costs, and you're trying to drive hard to the bottom line with your cash flow. So I think the biggest thing for us is, in the beginning of the year or towards the end of the year, budgeting properly for that year, anticipating the cost increases, anticipating the wage increases, and budgeting those properly. I think incentivizing on the payroll side, I think the way to control costs is to incentivize employees.
Peeking that behind it and make sure you can see both of us. Okay.
Do you expect to see that just broadly from the REIT level overall? Do you expect to see a little less activity, from the REIT sector?
I think so. I think activity, the pace has slowed down some. I think it's highly competitive with the public REITs. So I think that's a fair assessment that it'll be less active than it has been the last several years.
Our company's been very active coming out of the recession. We didn't have a lot of hotels going in, which was a good thing coming out. So we had some cash reserved. So since 2012, we've purchased 5 hotels. And 3 in the last, 4 months, and a nice mix of hotels, limited service, historic, a big Marriott, but they all have a similar story. The story being buying something that's kind of broken from a real estate perspective and operating perspective. In some cases rebranding it, but in all cases putting a lot of renovation dollars in and kind of reinventing the hotel. So that's something we think we're good at.
Well, there's markets bifurcated to a certain degree. There's a lot of larger portfolios from $200 and $300 million to $1 billion, and then there's a lot of smaller one-offs. And some of those one-off transactions might be in a secondary, tertiary market, or it may be in a gateway city or kind of a beltway city, as we refer to them. So they're still in the select service space, which is our primary space. There's still a lot of opportunities from an individual asset to small portfolios, to even $1 billion portfolio.
So I'm just going to I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1, and I'll look at the camera and introduce you and myself.
Hi, Jeff Higley with the...
Now I'm here at the Hunter Conference, where it seems like there's a lot of activity, with a lot of opportunities and deals and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Mike, when you talk about the opportunities and the deals that might be available here at Hunter, what are some of the goals for Best Western International as a company in terms of growth and development in your region of the world?
Sure. Well, I think it's sort of a top-down approach. We have the Best Western Premier product, and then Best Western Plus, and then the Best Western traditional brand.
With the Manhattan market, where majority of our hotels are, you have the most discerning guests that arrive. They've got a ton of choices to choose from. So we're ever present, ever aware of the fact that we have to cater to our guests so that they're not only a first-time guest but a repeat guest.
And he was a hustler. I mean, he no matter what,
walls.
he did.
He's the kind of guy you'd want. But I mean, at some point, you got to learn, that running through walls hurts you and your team.
Right.
So we're really excited about our investments in Cleveland. Not only do we buy great hotels there, in outstanding markets in and around Cleveland, but the renaissance that's happening relative to the medical community there, the infrastructure investments that have taken place. We're very, very bullish about the long-term prospects. I have that periphery vision.
What, you just throw the whole thing off. What the?
Cut it out. I knew that. Cut it out. I saw a bow tie and I'm like, I know who that is.